Hi there, and thank you for joining me. Today we are studying Psalm number 58, and this is the book. And the overview of the psalm is that David expresses the anguish caused him by Abner and his other enemies who justified Saul's pursuit of him. So far we have seen that King David has had many enemies. There was Saul, his father-in-law, who was the first king of Israel, who wanted his son to be the king, but instead David was anointed, so he wanted David killed and to usurp his power. Then we had Achitophel and Doeg, as well as his son Avshalom. So those three, they wanted David to be unkinged or whatever, or dethroned, because they felt that he no longer deserved the kingship because of his sins. Then we also had Goliath and his brother who wanted to kill him, and so on and so forth. So David had many enemies, and many people wanted to kill him. And so one thing that stands out to me is that sometimes us lay people, when we see somebody who has like a great job or a lot of power or a lot of money, we tend to, human nature is to envy them, to think like, oh, like I wish I could be queen, or I wish I could be CEO of a great company. And we don't really understand the price tag of fame and fortune. And sometimes people in high places have actually a life of a lot of hardships that we're not aware about. So what this is teaching me right away is not to envy people who have like more money or more fame than I do, because it might not be worth it in the end. It might seem like a very lofty, thing to acquire or to have, but in reality, we just don't know how difficult their lives actually are. So one of the things that stood out to me in chapter 58 is that we find the Hebrew word Hamas 3 times, once in verse 3 and twice in verse 5. And as I've mentioned before, depending on the context, Hamas has different meanings. Here it means violence, venom, and venom. In other places, it's meant evil, corruption, and another thing that I can't remember right now. Hopefully it'll come to me later. So words in Hebrew can have different meanings depending on their context, but the name of a thing or a place or a person always describes to us the essence of that person, place, thing, etc. So Hamas being associated with corruption, venom, violence, all of these like negative words, it tells us a lot of information. So first thing that I want to learn is from verse 2, and it says, the world is filled with a cacophony of voices declaring their supposed separateness from God. Our occupation in this world is to silence its noisiness by increasing awareness of the Creator. To impart this message to the world, we must find this silence in one's self. One must rise above the noise of this self-absorbed realm and hear the stillness of God's being. So, one of the practices of Judaism is Shabbat, and the Sabbath is a day where we disconnect from electronics, TV, phone, everything, computer, no emails, and it's a day that we spend in prayer, meditation, it's a family time. So we're cutting ourselves off from the noisiness of the world and we're being still. And this stillness is what helps us to connect with the Creator and to bring that connection into the whole week forward. So there's a meditation, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. So all week long we are human. We're like running around, doing things, working, etc. But on Shabbat, on the Sabbath, we are just beings, human beings, not human becomings, not working on, improving our business or in doing different things. We just being still. All right, so in verse 3, we have the first appearance of the word Hamas in this chapter. And it says Hamas Yadechem, and it means the violence of your hands. So the full verse is even with your heart, you wreak injustice upon the land. You justify the violence of your hands. And it's interesting, violence of your hands. So it's your own doing. So during this current crisis and war in Israel, which started with the October 7th massacre, one of the cell phone conversations of a terrorist was recorded and it was put on Instagram. And he was calling his father very excited and speaking in Arabic, saying, "Father, Father, I killed 10 people with my bare hands." And he's talking, and here it's talking about the violence of your hands. It's one thing to, be in the military and killing people with weapons, but it's a whole nother thing, like killing people in such close proximity with your own bare hands, with taking knives and all of the barbaric and cruel and disgusting things, babies put in ovens, decapitated, pregnant women having their babies taken out of them. I mean, just horrific crimes against humanity. And here it's talking about the violence of your hands. Not only do Saul's officers fail to defend David, they actively scheme against him in their hearts and justify their violence. So, of course, Hamas feels that their violence is justified. They feel that, that they have been wronged, that they are the victims. The heart was created to speak truth. Yet you have not conducted yourself accordingly. Rather, even with your heart, you wreak injustice upon the land. So this is David speaking to the enemies of himself, which is Avner and Saul. The hands were created to perform acts of charity with kindness, yet you justify the violence of your hands. So then the next time we see the word Hamas is in verse 5, and this time it means venom. Hamas lamo kidmat Hamas nachash. Their venom is like the venom of a snake. And so the commentary on this verse says, just as the vicious viper is as if deaf to the voice of charmers, so are the wicked men deaf and immune to words of rebuke. Even the rebuke of the most skillful preacher, they ignore the voice of the righteous one who is oppressed unfairly and instead judge him capriciously. So here it's interesting because it's comparing Hamas not only by the direct definition of the venom of a snake, but it's being related to a wicked person who does not listen to truth. And also, since the war began, I don't remember which countries, but some Arab Muslim leaders have come out and actually spoken very harshly against Hamas and what they're doing and how they're not justified, and that there is no justification for such acts of brutality. So today, the take-home message is the art of silence, the importance of taking time to be still, whether that's a few minutes a day to really like tune in and tune out the outside voices and the outside world, and to have that being a priority, the occupation of bringing awareness of the Creator. So that's the take-home message today. Bring awareness of the Creator by being still and connecting with your inner voice, and then infusing that into your work and into your world. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye bye.